Okay, now that I've gotten some of the frustration out, here's a real video that I'm going to post. There's been a few phone calls, videos, things like that that's been shared around that were never actually posted to social media or any of my accounts in general. For one, we've been having an issue with, or I've been having an issue with harassment for the last year. It's been reported multiple times. Attempted to report, and police have what's known as their oath of duty. They have what's known as oath of duty, and then there's a constitutional right that you have that's considered the right to justice. And then there are also state and local laws that require police officers to take reports on committed crimes. Yeah, that goes into a whole nother section. If you file a false affidavit, obviously that's criminal activity. I've had false affidavits filed against me. We've had several issues over the years. One of the issues I've had is I actually worked for a guy who claimed he was involved in some illegal activity. He had some friends in New York, New Jersey, stuff like that. And long story short, it ended up being one of those situations where it was reported, and then when I called the FBI or the state, they basically said, well, where's your evidence of this? And then I showed them my evidence. They said, that's not evidence. So I actually told them, I said, look, I have recordings. He said, well, I have to get warrants for that. And then they never go to get the warrants. This has happened several times. I've actually recorded this happening a couple of times, which I'll go through and actually get some of those recordings out and post them publicly. So it's no longer going to be, and actually not too long ago, I was actually up here trying to report a hacked phone, which I'll go ahead and post that for you guys too. And they refused to take a report. I went ahead and reported to the DOJ, which they do. They are kind of head of the federal organization, so to speak. So that is where you would want to report cybercrime, stuff like that. Or you would want to report cybercrimes to ICP3, which it's been reported several times. I don't think anything's ever came of it. I don't know if they've actually done anything or not. They have gotten the reports on the harassment issues. The guy that was standing around in the yard. Basically, what happened is I bought a pack of cigarettes and I had cigarettes missing. So these are actually poisoned with a brake cleaner, acetone, and air freshener. So if they smoke that, you know, they need to get medical help or whatever the case may be. But it's actually been reported for the last year. The harassment issues that were going on, it's been reported for the last year. It's been reported multiple times. And I was just kind of at my last straw. They were getting really brave. They were kind of sneaking in and out of the shadows and stuff like that. And not in just a normal manner, and kind of what you would consider to be an intimidating manner, which is enough to make you feel threatened. And under law, you know, if you've reported something like that many times and you still feel threatened, you do have a legal right to act. It's not, you know, let's not go flying off the hinges here, because somebody might get lung damage and die in 5 years because they smoked a poison cigarette. If they get medical attention, they will be fine. If they smoke the cigarette, I think I had one missing when I got up this morning, but I don't know. And basically, just like half the pack was, some of the ones in the back weren't, so I was able to smoke a few out of that pack. But it's kind of one of those situations where when you report something that many times, and I've actually gone to local sheriff's departments, things like that, and actually been turned around at the door. The local sheriff's department here in California was absolutely wonderful. The police officer that refused to take a report was actually with the city. they were actually reported to a local, a state constitutional rights outfit out of St. Louis. I'm not sure what they did. The guy who, in fact, was, saying that he was involved in all this illegal activity was actually originally from St. Louis, so he might have had friends up there that takes care of his little problems. Definitely a corruption issue, big time. So it is a corruption issue. I guess they could say they're offended by me. Trump could say that businesses can choose to do business with whoever they want to, or something like that. There's actually laws against that as far as police officers go. When a criminal act has been committed, in which I actually have to go here in a little bit. I haven't made that much money this year yet, so I actually still qualify for basically public defense. And I guess they can say that they can deny it, but they can't really, because I fall under the qualifications for it, in which I'll probably try to deny it anyway. We'll be on camera on this, by the way, the whole time. This is all going on YouTube. This is all going on Facebook. I'm probably going to get a Twitter account. We might do something. I might actually do something about government corruption. I might do a whole channel about government corruption. So we'll see here. There's been several of my conversations that have been basically kind of passed around town, and videos that have been passed around town. Quite possibly bigger than that, possibly a state or nation, I don't know. So basically what we got here is I blew off some steam earlier, but that's just, blowing off steam. But basically what we got here is almost an entire judicial misconduct case. And there are three levels of this. There's judicial misconduct, judicial neglect, and corruption. And it actually falls into all three categories at once. So literally every federal crime you can imagine, short of murder, that could be committed against you in a year's time has been committed against me in a year's time, and they have all been reported. I have over 300. Well, not 300. I've got well over 50 emails to the DOJ reporting these crimes. And one of the things that they keep trying to throw at me is situations in which even the supposed victim themselves said that's not how it went. Like, yeah, things were said, but that's not how it went at all. Like, basically what you're accusing him of doesn't match what he did. And it's crazy how they can hear you say something, or hear something being said, or hear a conversation and think they know what's going on, when in reality they don't. They don't know what's going on. All they can hear is what they can hear, and they're basing their opinion of what happened based off of what they hear audibly, and there's no visual. It's kind of like pointing it up here in the sky, and I seem calm, and I'm actually pretty calm, but my middle finger's out of the phone here, but you can't see it. So that's kind of what it's like. It's a strange situation. It's out of despotism, basically. I don't know. And even with the cigarettes thing, it was one of those things where I'd actually asked my stepfather for cigarettes. He had said yes. He just said, don't wake me up for cigarettes, stuff like that. So I'd go in his room at night if he was sleeping. If he was awake, I'd ask him, hey, can I get a cigarette? And if he was sleeping, I'd grab a cigarette. I'd go back to bed. And this is somehow manifested itself into people sneaking around my yard in an intimidating manner and coming up and stealing cigarettes off the porch. So they got poisoned. I'm sorry, but as long as they get medical attention, they'll be fine. So those are some issues to point out there. A lot of judicial misconduct at every level. They probably would not even freaking think to arrest me for any of this, because the worst attorney in the world would literally laugh them out of court, unless of course they get their thinking caps on and think of how they can spin this situation into something that it's not, which is going to be hard to do, because I have literally recorded almost every single one of these situations. I recorded him saying, yeah, I can get cigarettes, just don't bother him, don't wake him up, stuff like that. I actually recorded him saying, hey, look, take the tractor apart, see what we need to do to fix it. And then the next day asking why I took the tractor apart. He had a stroke. So sometimes, he'll forget conversations we had, stuff like that, which is why I've kept track of them on recordings. And this was basically the basis for all of this stuff that was going on, was a brain damaged man who is basically mentally impaired. And basically what has happened here, it's almost like living with someone with Alzheimer's, but not quite. I've since moved. They actually put me in a mental institution when they had no legal right to. They knew the judge. The judge should have recused himself. There should have been a judge from outside the county brought in. There wasn't. They knew the judge. And it was basically a bunch of crap where they're worried that there's going to be a lawsuit or something like that. And they were intentionally doing this to try to ensure that my Second Amendment rights were taken away, which is illegal, by the way. I did find the laws on that. It's actually kind of a manipulation clause that kind of falls under the duress of entrapment, but it falls under stripping an individual of their rights without due process. So basically what they'll do is they'll say, hey, look, when they take you to court, like, you're not allowed to have electronics in the courtroom, stuff like that. Well, that's just great, but I mean, I've got all these recordings that can prove my innocence. Not only prove my innocence, but prove that this is a witch hunt. And they're going, well, and I guess if we ever do get to the point where they actually do take me into court over my gun rights in particular, I will have to ask the judge to bring those recordings in, and even then they still may say no. But that goes against your rights as well, because you actually have rights to a fair and speedy trial. Fair is in that context. Just watch out for that shit. It's bad here in America. It really is. Right now they are trying to take gun rights in any way, shape, or form possible. And I mean any way, shape, or form possible. If you're the type of person who gets excitable, stuff like that, they do not want you having a gun, period. And it has almost gotten to a form of Nazism, where, it's time to round up the guns, and that's literally the first thing they do in a situation like that, is they strip you of your rights to bear arms. They strip you of your weapons to where you are unarmed against basically armed forces, police officers, and it's basically kind of the same situation that's happening here in America now. And there's been a lot of talk for a long time of when it's going to boil down to a breaking point, and I think we're actually past that point. Over the years, we've seen a lot of riots, a lot of protests, stuff like that, and I think we're actually at that point, and it's just waiting on a catalyst. Basically, it's waiting on something to happen that is so out there and astonishing that it just puts everybody in an uproar. Hopefully that doesn't happen in my lifetime, but it might. But hopefully we can get on the public defender thing and get this stuff taken care of.